I have been a teacher for 15 years. 12 years ago, I had a student in my class whose name was Michael. We called him Mikey for short. By every indicator I had available to me, Mikey was a boy. Big green eyes, short curly hair, a sweet shy voice. He was adorable. He was also really smart, and he loved to draw. Sadly, Mikey had a hard time making friends and would often come to me at recess in tears. Socially, nothing seemed to go his way. Now, fast forward 10 years. I was getting into my car after school one day, and I heard someone call my name. I looked up, and I saw this spunky young woman, tank top, short skirt, combat boots. She looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. "I'm Mikey," she said. "Well, you knew me as Mikey, but now my name is Mandy." My world shifted. I was shocked. Instantly, though, I recognized those big green eyes from kindergarten, and I reached out and hugged her. At that point, Mandy was a junior in high school and had, within the last few months, decided to live her life as a girl. But let me be clear, she didn't decide she was a girl. That she'd known for a long time. What she decided was to be and live in the world as her true self. Well, I asked Mandy why she hadn't thought of an easier moment to make the change, like going to college. She looked at me and said, "Batya, I could not wait one more day." When she recalled her years at elementary school, she remembered how much she hated going to the bathroom, the boys' bathroom. How every time teachers would put students in boys' lines and girls' lines, she hated it. I cringed when I thought how my boy-girl language reinforced a system where Mandy couldn't find a place for herself. Well, her story threw me for a loop. As a teacher, one of the most important things to me is that every child in my class feels safe. Well, determined to not make the same mistake again, I decided to get curious. I began to observe how gender was playing out in my classroom, and I did some research. And this is what I found. There are many myths and assumptions out there about gender, and they don't only hurt kids like Mandy, they hurt us all. So tonight, I want to look at two main ones. The first myth is that gender is binary. What that means is we have two choices. We can either be masculine and male and feminine and female, nothing in between and nothing beyond. The second myth is that a person's sex and gender are the same thing, when in fact, they're quite different. Sex is our biology. It's our anatomy. It's that moment at birth when someone lifts us up, looks between our legs, and declares, "It's a boy. It's a girl." That is our assigned sex at birth. Now, here's something really interesting that I found out. 1 in 2,000 babies are born with genitals that don't conform to the gender boxes. That's more than 2 babies a day. Just that fact alone, for me, blew open the gender binary myth. Okay, so if sex is between our legs, gender is between our ears. Gender or gender identity is our own deeply innate sense of how we feel inside on the continuum of male to female. Here's my point, though. Sometimes our gender does not correspond with our sex, in the case of Mandy. Researchers now believe that children begin to develop their sense of gender identity between the ages of 2 and 3. Now, for most of us, they do line up. For me, I was born a girl. I feel like a girl. And so for the most part, the system worked for me. Because my sex and gender line up, I have been able to move through the world pretty smoothly. A privilege I didn't even really think about until Mandy. For Mandy, it was completely different. She was fighting the system even before she had words for it. She was fighting the system even before she had words for it. Even though she had a penis and has a penis, she knows down to the marrow of her bones and as far back as she can remember that she is a girl. Her parents, who were so loving and supportive, when Mandy had friends come over when she was little, still, they put away her dolls and her dresses for fear that she would be teased. Mandy wanted to please her parents, and so she tried her hardest to be a boy. But it was hard, and it hurt her. And it hurts her still. You see, in our culture, when you don't fit into those boxes, our society does not know what to do with you. If anything outside of the boxes is seen as breaking the rules, and consequences can be dire. I recently read in the New York Times about a teenager in Oakland, California, who identifies as agender, meaning neither male nor female. This teenager, Sasha, was coming home one day from high school on the public bus. Sasha walked to the back of the bus and fell asleep. Another group of teenagers got on the bus, saw Sasha, and in the words of one of them, Sasha looked like a dude in a skirt. They were so offended by the sight that one of them set Sasha's skirt on fire. The skirt went up in flames, and Sasha sustained multiple third-degree burns. And the assailant, 16 years old, is being tried as an adult and will likely spend many years behind bars. I think it's a tragedy all around. Sadly, violence against people who live outside of the gender norms is not unusual. Now, this is an extreme case of how we police gender in our society. Extreme, but not unusual. And it raises the question, why is gender so important to us? Let's think about it. When you were little, when did you know your gender? Did someone have to teach you? Growing up, were there things that you did or didn't do because they wouldn't be appropriate for your gender? Boys, men, did you learn that boys don't cry? Women, were you taught to act like a lady? My mother often jokes it's a rule I never learned. But seriously, now I realize how many gender rules I have had to break to be where I am today. Today, when you were getting dressed, what did you put on to signal your gender to the world? Because we're so frequently having to fit in these gender boxes, it's often the boxes that are telling us what to say, what to wear, what to aspire to in life. What if you weren't limited by your gender? Just imagine. So here's something else that I find so interesting. My kindergartners are already limited by their gender. At age 5, they're already policing each other about their gender. A few weeks into school this year, a boy I'll call Sam came to school in a pink t-shirt. As he approached the line, another boy in the line said, "You can't wear that, Sam. Pink is a girl's color." Well, Sam burst out crying and refused to come into the classroom until his dad went to the car and got him a different shirt. Once I'd settled the kids down on the rug, I asked them, "Who says pink is a girl's color? Who made up that rule?" Then I asked, "Tell me what boys do wear." And I wrote their answers in 2 columns on the board. They said black and blue and superhero shirts. I asked, what do? They play soccer, they build towers, they play with trucks and trains. I asked about girls. They said pink and blue. They said pink and purple and dresses and crowns. I asked, what do? They said they dance, they play with dolls, they braid each other's hair. They came up with quite the list. Towards the end, someone said, hang on a minute, those rules don't make sense, because Savannah plays soccer, and Johnny does ballet. One by one, they systematically dismantled the stereotypes they had listed on the board. So at the end, I asked, so what do you think of these rules? And they all yelled back, they're not fair. The very next day, Sam came to school proudly wearing his pink t-shirt. And the boy who made the comment was in princess clothes in the dress-up corner. Here's what I have found. The earlier we expose children to these issues, the easier it is to address prejudice before it becomes entrenched. It's not about putting anything into anyone's heads. It's about opening minds to accepting ourselves and each other for who we truly are. So what can we do? Let's start by questioning our assumptions around gender. Let's begin to see gender on a continuum, a range of possibilities, from male to female or beyond. I believe if we could see gender this way, we would all lead wiser, more compassionate lives. And speaking of compassion, I recently heard that Sasha, with the skirt, is asking for leniency for the attacker. Sasha says the attacker is just a teenager, and teenagers do stupid things. Sasha's asking that the attacker be tried as a juvenile and not as an adult. If Sasha can come through an attack like that with such compassion and such grace, can we begin to see people who live outside of gender norms with more compassion, more grace? And one more thing. The next time someone tells you that, the next time you hear that someone has had a baby, pause for a moment before you ask, is it a boy or a girl? Why do you really want to know? Thank you.